If you're someone who dreams every night, not occasionally, not during a difficult stretch, but reliably, as a simple and unremarkable feature of how you sleep, Carl Jung had something specific to say about you. Not about your dreams, about the kind of mind that produces them. He analyzed, by his own count, more than 80,000 dreams across his career. He kept a record of his own every morning for decades. And what he found, working inside that archive, was that the frequency of dreaming wasn't random. It wasn't about diet or stress levels or how much sleep you got. Something else was determining it. Something structural. In the 8th volume of his collected works, Jung wrote that the dream is a spontaneous self-portrayal in symbolic form of the actual situation in the unconscious. The key word there is spontaneous. The dream doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait for you to decide you're ready. It produces itself from material that's already present, material the conscious mind has no direct access to on its own. The question Jung kept returning to across decades of clinical work was this: why do some people produce this material reliably, night after night, while others encounter it only occasionally? His answer was that regular dreaming indicates something specific about the architecture of the psyche. Not a talent, an arrangement. The partition between what is conscious and what is unconscious is, in some people, thinner, more permeable. Jung called this, carefully, without making it sound extraordinary, innate sensitiveness. A porousness in the psychological membrane that separates what you know from yourself from what you don't. Not a flaw in the structure. A different kind of structure entirely. And what this means, practically, is the following. The unconscious is always producing content. Always. In every person. Every night. What varies is how much of that content crosses the threshold and becomes accessible. To memory, to feeling, to the dreaming mind that can work with it. In the person who rarely dreams, the threshold is high. Most of what the unconscious generates is absorbed before it arrives. In the person who dreams every night, the threshold is lower. The material completes its journey. It lands. The symbolic processing, the emotional sorting, the compensatory messages the deeper mind is generating and sending, every night, in every person. In you, that material doesn't stay down there. It crosses. This is what Jung meant when he wrote that every dream is an organ of information and control, our most effective aid in building up the personality. He wasn't being poetic. He was being precise. The dream is the mechanism by which the unconscious communicates with the part of you that can respond. Most people receive that communication rarely. On the nights when something forces the threshold down, when what's being processed is too loud to be ignored. The person who dreams every night is someone whose channel is, by the structure of who they are, consistently open. Now, open doesn't mean settled. Jung was careful about this. An active dream life isn't a sign that your inner world is at peace. It's closer to the opposite. The compensatory function, the specific purpose he assigned to most nightly dreaming, is to correct imbalance, to address what the waking mind has missed, what it's refused, what it's been too defended or too occupied to process directly. A person who dreams every night is someone whose unconscious is consistently compensating. Something in the waking life is consistently incomplete. Not because anything is wrong with you, because you are psychologically complex enough that the conscious attitude, no matter how carefully maintained, never fully captures what's actually happening. The unconscious runs alongside, sending nightly dispatches about what's been left out. I started keeping a dream journal in the months after I left hospice work. Not because anyone told me to. I was reading Memories, Dreams, Reflections one night, alone in an apartment that still didn't quite feel like mine yet. And Jung described his own dreams as letters from the unconscious. He said he recorded them every morning because the correspondence mattered, because something in those letters needed a reader. I had been dreaming every night for years and treating it like weather, something that happened while I was away. I'd wake up with fragments still in the room. The texture of a conversation I couldn't locate, a staircase leading somewhere I'd never been, someone's face I almost recognized, and let them dissolve with the coffee. What I noticed when I started writing instead of forgetting was that my dreams had been talking about things I wasn't talking about. The first 2 weeks of notes read like a map of everything I was carrying and calling fine. Jung found something else in his clinical work that I keep coming back to, and it connects directly to this. He distinguished between what he called little dreams and big dreams. Little dreams are the nightly sorting, the psyche processing the day's residue, working through recent tensions, doing the maintenance that keeps the system running. Most dreaming, for most people, falls here. It looks mundane because it is mundane. It's housekeeping. Necessary but not revelatory. Big dreams, what Jung called archetypal dreams, arise from a deeper layer. Not the personal material, but what he identified as the collective unconscious, the stratum of psychological content that isn't yours specifically, that carries a quality of meaning larger than any individual life. These dreams don't feel like ordinary sleep. They carry weight that persists for days, a sense of having been shown something that hasn't finished unfolding. Jung found that big dreams appear more frequently in people with active, regular dream lives, not on any schedule, not predictably. But the permeable architecture that produces nightly dreaming is the same architecture that creates conditions for archetypal material to surface. The threshold is lower across the board. Not just for the daily sorting, but for the deeper layers too. The person who dreams every night isn't only doing more maintenance. They're living in a house with more access to the foundation. One more thing Jung observed, quietly, because it was hard to quantify, that I think is the most important part of this. He spent decades studying why certain people changed in ways that lasted and others didn't. Why some patients moved into genuine psychological transformation while others kept cycling through the same material. And what he found, consistently, was that the people who changed were almost without exception people who took their inner life seriously, who treated their dreams as relevant, who wrote them down, sat with them, let them mean something. He wrote that the dream is an organ of information and control. The organ is already functioning. In you, it's been functioning every night, reliably, whether you've been paying attention or not. What determines whether any of that matters isn't the frequency of the dreaming. It's whether anyone has been reading the correspondence. The unconscious isn't trying to confuse you. Jung was very clear about that. It produces content that is always, in some way, relevant to what's incomplete in the waking mind. The images are strange because they're working in a different language. Not the language of logic, but the language of symbol and feeling and pattern. But they're not random. They're responding to something real. You've been receiving those dispatches every night. Consistently. That isn't common. Most people sleep through the whole conversation. Whatever arrived last night is still there, somewhere, waiting to be read.